Andy Kotelnicki's joined us several times on the Coaching Coordinator podcast, and he's busy right now getting ready for his first season as the offensive coordinator of the Kansas Jayhawks. In this podcast, he talks about the idea of why RPO and shares his thought process on what he likes to do to attack a defense. Understanding a coach's thought process, I think, is important. It's not just about throwing plays into your offense. It's about how do those plays affect the defense? How does it fit into a system and a thought process for you as you put together game plans and call a game? And I think there's a lot of insight here from Coach Kotelnicki. I'll share his other podcasts in our show notes. The entire talk, this clinic talk, is available on CoachTube and has some great RPO plays, which he analyzes and shows you on game film. I'll also tell you at the end how to save on that entire clinic. Here's Coach Kotelnicki.
As we go, quick overview of what we're doing, guys. I want to spend a little time talking about why you do RPOs. Okay, I want to define a little bit, offensively, especially what efficiency and execution really mean. At least for us and how we define it. The parameters for us within our program, and then I want to get into some video examples. Okay, and I know on Zoom video can be a little bit choppy. It's got a lot better. But I'll go fast. I want to give you different variations of, safety reads, linebacker reads, so your second level defenders, and then your first level defenders. So I want to be able to get through all those and give you some film examples. So hopefully you have some ideas, and then spend a little time talking about, what you do versus a +1 box and what that is. Some married RPOs that have, with quarterback runs. Okay, for those of you who like to run your quarterback, we've done some things through the years. So first thing is, why would you want to do an RPO? Why do you want to do them? Why do you want to carry them in your offense? They seem to be the fad. They've been that way for the last couple of years. And I think defenses have caught up a little bit. And so they're adding some new challenges to the RPO game. If you were doing these 10 years ago, you're probably gashing people for, 500 yards a game doing these sort of things. I know I've been able to do those. And they've caught up a little bit more. And I think that's good. And there's, we're trying to play that cat and mouse game and stay ahead. But you do it because you want to put some stress on the defensive coaches and defensive players to be right schematically. Okay. You want them to feel like anytime that the ball is snapped, that there's some sort of option responsibility for a defender. And you know what I mean when I say option. So in this pay, we're talking about run pass option. If you're running the quarterback or you're under center, you're doing triple option things, you're reading some extra defender in the box. Okay. My favorite word in football right now, and it has been for the last couple of years, is distortion. Right here in the right, you see a picture. Okay. Hopefully you can see my mouse, but that's called a Hoberman sphere. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's that toy, right, where you can kind of pull it apart and, put it back together. I show that to the offensive kids probably once a year, and I have one on my desk. And I say, the game of football really is not very complicated in the sense of if the objective offensively is to get the ball from one side of that sphere to the other. And now, right, you can push that ball back. Okay. You can throw over that ball, or you can distort it and pull apart and kind of go through it. And I think that's what RPOs do a lot. And really in any play that we run offensively, we're trying to create some distortion. And I think it's something that you need to be cognizant of when you are putting together plays, you're putting together an offensive package. We want to make sure that we're not wasting any snaps by running things into really non-favorable looks. Okay, so we're not just wasting it and sitting there after a game going, that's just a bad picture, that's a bad box, that's a bad call. We're not going to be able to get a completion there. Okay, I think this is really important. Okay, that second bullet there's, allowing your quarterback to go through this or that decision making. What I'm talking about really specific, really finite, one stimulus, one response thinking for the quarterback. Okay, I'm a huge believer in eliminating variables for the quarterback, and really in all players, quite honestly, to eliminate variables for them. So to communicate with him and say, this is exactly what you're looking at. This is the guy. If he does this, then you're going to throw the ball. If he does that, you're going to hand it off. Okay, and don't paralyze him with variables. Don't paralyze him with, too much. Hey, if the DN does this and then the linebacker does that, then we can throw it. Too much for them to see. Okay, one stimulus, one response. I think no matter what kind of offensive system you run, okay, you can figure out ways to put run pass option game into it. Okay, you can figure out ways to have your favorite run schemes combined with your favorite pass schemes. Okay, so do that for your kids. And then at the end of the day for them, and we say this a lot, anything that we try to decide what we're going to do offensively, it's same as teaching for your kids. And I'll show you some examples of different run schemes on, on film, combined with various pass schemes and how we would read it. And then we want to be able to have our kids and put them in a position so that they can be successful and they can execute. Now, the two E words that a lot of people spend time talking about, especially as applies to offensive football, the first one is, if I can flip my my screen here, is execution. And this is a little model that we have kind of created in what we do on offense. We feel like as coaches, what are the things that we do that help our kids execute? Okay. And I won't spend a lot of time talking about these things, but the four things you see on top there in red, those are the things schematically that you're going to be able to do to help your kids execute. Those 6 things on the bottom, those are the things maybe philosophically or how you go about practice, or how many plays you carry, or the drills that you do, okay, to help those kids execute and kind of, sticking to some of those values or those pillars, if you will. But we'll spend most of our time today talking about those 4 things on top. But this is definitely something I recommend everyone consider and say, what do you really do as a coach to help your kids go out there and execute the assignment? Okay. It might be less is more. It might be best players of the football, whatever it is, but have some time and really outline and define what those are. What do you do to help your kid execute? Then you want to talk about efficiency. Okay. We know that turnovers and explosive plays, statistically speaking, are the two biggest indicators of being able to win a football game. Okay. And then you get into red zone, touchdowns, and you get into, people talk about, your first down efficiency. Okay. For us, as we define efficiency, it's you're gaining 4 yards on first down. You're going to gain half the distance on second down. On a third down, you're going to get a first down, or you're going to put yourself in a manageable fourth down that you convert on that. Okay. It's more important than average per play. Way back 16, 15 years ago, you sit there, you look at the average per play, and you run some screen on the first play, first game of the year, and you take one for 80 to the house. Okay. And you have a good feeling about that. Okay. That play. You call it the next week, it's a gain of 0. You call it the next week, it's an incomplete pass. You call it the next week, it's a gain of 5. You still feel really good about it because you're sitting there looking at the average per play and you recognize that it went for 80 divided by 4, and you start to do the math. You go, oh, we're still pretty damn good at that play. Well, the reality is that that's not what matters. What matters is the efficiency of how much you call it. So if you called it those 4 times and you had those 4 results, you're probably 1 out of 4 efficient, which isn't that good. Okay. Now, that's kind of how we define it. Some of the analytic people talk about the new data would suggest that 5 yards on first down is efficient, and second down to get you less than 3rd and 3 would be considered efficient statistically. So we've used those as well to talk about it. Whatever your metric is, I think you should have one. And I would recommend that it kind of probably stay somewhere in one of those 2. Okay. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence. Okay. But I want to talk about what a +1 box is, because I think this is really important. Okay. Because this is what football is becoming. Right. A lot of times when you install things, it's really easy for you to get in there and you start drawing pictures against that front. Okay. At the end of the day, guys, we don't see those fronts. We see slants, we see blitzes, we see extra guys in the box. Nobody's going to line up in a 0 box. The truth is that if you line up for us on a Saturday, or for you guys on a Friday night, and you see a box like that, and you're not effectively running the football, it's probably going to be a long day for you on offense. Yeah, that's the truth. So what you have to do is spend time thinking about what do you do as an offense to answer that picture. Okay. And I'll go to the next slide there, that picture, right? That's a different formation, different +1 box. I think there's 4 things, and this is what we do. Okay. And again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just something that we know when we go into a game plan, we understand what their +1 box looks like. Okay. Maybe they're an edge pressure team. Maybe they're a roll the safety down and insert, and maybe they're line up in cover 1 and have the 3 backers in the box right away. Whatever they are, we understand it. We know it. And when we have a play caller and we put a game plan together, it's really going to touch on 1 of 4 things to answer a +1 box. The first one, and this is very common for people to say, is that we're just going to throw the ball. Okay. the first thing teams did to take away RPOs was say, screw this, let's come down, play cover one, and not let them throw those hitches and those little speed outs that they like to do and dink and dunk. Okay? Which is true, right? Because we would sit out there and all day we just throw those hitches because those guys would be folded in the box, you know, trying to get the extra half a guy in the box. So the first answer could be throw a ball, which isn't wrong, but we know that there are going to be moments in a game where you shouldn't throw the ball, whatever it might be, 4-minute situation, the personnel out there isn't as great, whatever it could be, okay? So throw the ball, 1. 2 would be to read somebody, okay? And this is where RPOs come into play a little bit, is you are going to read that extra guy in the box, okay? Or you're going to run a zone read scheme, or you're going to run a power read scheme, or some sort of option where you're reading that extra defender in the box that you might see here on that bottom picture. And the next 2 is what we spend a lot of time on, you know, from a run game standpoint. And that's, you know, the third one is you run away from the extra defender. So if you have a good perimeter run play that you can rely on to run away, maybe if it's an outside zone play to the left, okay, oops, let me go back there. If it's an outside zone play to the left, okay, however it is, you're really running away from that guy, the extra defender, okay? And you're challenging him to what we'd say would be the 4th thing, and that's hey, just make that guy fit and tackle, okay? So you might go into the game and you look at this thing, and you're going to block inside zone, and you're going to just man block the backside, and you're going to push that over here, and you might just say, hey, we're going to make that guy tackle on this play. Now, depending on your personnel, you maybe not just, you can't live in that world, just like you can't live in the world of no matter what we're going to throw the ball, or no matter what we have to read that guy. Your game plan should really incorporate all 4 of those, and you have some variety and balance to how you go about beating that extra guy in the box.
Always great information from Coach Kotelnicki. This one shared at the New York State High School Coaches Football Association Clinic. Another great one. I'll have the link to their entire library in the show notes. A lot there for you as well. And I'll share Coach Kotelnicki's previous episodes with us where he shares some thoughts on offense, as well as his first interview where he digs into his football journey. So you can save on this by entering the code CCPDistortion. Again, that's CCPDistortion. Follow all we're doing at coachingcoordinator.com and follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.